Hello, I'm Leonardo, and today I want to explain how to create this animation. Animating backgrounds in perspective is one of the most time-consuming things you can do in animation. But today with computers that's an easy task. One way of achieve this effect is using 3D software and 3D assets. But in this tutorial, I'm going to explain how to accomplish this using Clip Studio Paint, with no need for 3D. Let's begin! To achieve this animated perspective change, we need three main files. First, the main file in which I'm going to create the loop animation. My second file is an animated character walking or marching. If you want to know how to create this loop, I already made 3 different tutorials of how to in Clip Studio. This is how to use puppet animation in Clip. All my tutorials have subtitles if you need it. In this one, there is a run cycle, and I explain how to keep your character stick to the ground. And in this one, I show how to mix puppet animation and frame-by-frame animation in this skipping cycle, especially how to create the dress moving with the character in a realistic way. I use similar methods to create this cycle. In this file, I use two animation folders, one for the line art. Let's place a paper layer to see it better. This is my line art for the cycle, and the second folder is for the colors, and that's it. The third file is the bridge seen from the top. What I did with this bridge was to create a wooden texture drawn in different sections. Each section has 6 wooden boards, and they are copied 5 times. Now let's see why. Going back to the main file, I want to show you what I did. But for this, it's better if we see the complete perspective drawing. To do this, we must make our canvas bigger. In Edit, change canvas size. I will change the canvas width now. You can see the bridge that I drew with one vanishing point perspective. To know the length of the cycle, I copy the character over the bridge. You can see that each step requires 3 wooden planks. The character is a simple vector layer copy from the file of the walk cycle. It requires 3 planks, but in the complete cycle, the character goes over 6 planks. This is because it needs to do 2 steps to start the cycle again. This is why each module contains 6 planks, and in this way it will be an infinite loop. There are at least 4 modules of the bridge visible on the screen. That's why it takes at least 5 modules to create an infinite cycle. Let's see how. To animate the bridge cycle, we need to start and finish in the same spot. So, all the modules are contained in a folder. To animate everything at once, press Enable Keyframes on this layer. I have the animation ready, but let's start again from scratch. I'm going to erase the animation, just right-click, erase all keys. Okay, now to animate the cycle, I'm going to use a reference because I need to know the end of the cycle. So I want to use this rectangle. I need to place it outside the folder I'm going to animate, and I will change the color to maybe red to make it stand out from the other drawings. So to animate the folder, let's change the name for blanks. So I need to activate the enable keyframes. In the interpolation, you need to check the linear because the movement of the cycle is constant. First, I add the key in the first frame, and I know that the cycle will be 1 second long. But to make the perfect loop, I'm going to finish the animation in frame 25, because 25 will be the start of the cycle, but I'm going to take out the 25 frame. To move the folder, you can use the arrow keys. If you press Shift, the movement will be 10 times faster. I made a mistake. It is the wrong layer. Now in the blanks folder, I activate again the enable keyframes and place my first key. And in frame 24, using the arrow keys with the shift pressed, let's start moving the planks until we match the red rectangle. If you zoom out, it moves faster. If you zoom in, it moves slower. Now I adjust the position until it matches perfectly the position of the red rectangle. This key needs to be in frame 25, how I said, to create a perfect loop. To do this, just click and drag the key. Now I change the duration to 24, and when you test, it works. The cycle looks smooth at a constant speed. I painted a texture to this bridge, but for now it's too distracting and it's better to keep it not visible. Okay, I can erase this reference now and save the file. This is really important. You will see why later. Now in my main animation file, I want to explain what I did. The bridge was drawn using a 1-point perspective. I use as reference the rectangle for the side planks layer, and I drew these squares to indicate where the handrails will be. This is the character, these are the side planks. Now I'm going to import the plank files we just saved in File, Import, Create File Object. I never read what is there, so okay. So let's move this under the drawing to check it better and move the drawing to the end of the loop. Be careful to place it in the correct position. And now let's change the scale to match the height and try to match the width of the planks. It's hard to see the two drawings, so I'm going to change the color of the perspective drawing to maybe a red color, like this. Now select the planks layer and using the free transform tool, you can find it in Edit, Transform and Free Transform, or you can use Shift T. I have the option in the quick access because it's faster. So pressing the Shift key, move the corner to match the corner of the drawing. I'm going to zoom in to adjust the position. Do it as perfect as you can. Now the other corner. Press Shift and match the perspective lines. Be patient and do it until everything looks okay. Now if I press, I import the file in the wrong position. Let's fix this. Now press play and everything moves in perspective. I'm going to make invisible some layers and play it again. Now it's easy to see the 3D effects that this technique achieves. It's quite cool. Now let's import our character, the marching guy, the marching cat, and I'm going to adjust the size to match the reference and keep the loop at the same speed. We can now hide the character. And in the planks file, I'm going to make visible the texture. Now, when I save the changes, the file is updated in the main file too. That's quite cool. And if you adjust the view like this and play the effects, it looks still better because the movement in the character fits, it's linear, and the movement of the planks is linear. Everything looks attached to each other. Doesn't happen the sliding thing that looks quite terrible. The next thing to do is the side part of the bridge. We need to animate this part. This folder is called Side Planks, and in the folder there are the drawings and the textures. So I'm going to do the same we did already. Activate the key for the folder and find the file in the timeline. Add the keyframe, and remember, it needs to be in linear interpolation. In frame 24, move the animation to match the position. I use zoom when I need to be precise. So check the animation to see if there is any problems. Everything moves in perspective and it's looking great. You can do this frame by frame, but it will be a lot of work. And with this technique, you can see how easy it is to achieve the effect. To finalize, I'm going to show you how to animate the handrails, because this has its own problem. First, I'm going to adjust the position. If you press the Tab key, you can hide all the panels and you have more room to work. I'm pressing Shift to keep the proportions. It's better if you adjust from both sides until the scale is correct. Now from here I'm going to take my time to make it as perfect as I can. I think it's too big. I'm going to adjust the height. Yes, I like it better. Now everything looks okay. If you check the marks I made as a reference for the handrails, you can see that there are missing parts. It needs part of the side for this post. This is easy to fix. In a new folder, I'm going to call it Perspective Wood. I'm going to create some simple forms for this using the polyline selection. Let's select a color from the side of the post, a dark brown. Now I can create the shapes. I press Shift to keep my lines straight and close the form. But it's better if the side lines are straight. So selecting my rectangle selection and pressing the Subtract, I'm going to make this side straight. Now in the folder, I'm going to create a new raster layer. Fill with the color we choose. I'm going to change the folder position to be under the handrail. The same in the next post. We can copy and paste this layer and place it in the correct position. So we need to animate each part separately. But first, let's create the animation for the handrail. In this first frame, I will add a key. Remember, it needs to be linear. In frame 24, just move the folder using the arrows and Shift, adjust the position. And that's it. Now it moves. Now the side post, the first one, find it in the timeline, enable the keys and add a new key in the frame 1. And in frame 24 we need to match the position and thickness of the second shape. So to see this better, it's better if you change the color of the shape. Let's change the width. Oh, it's changing the size in proportion. So we need to go to Tools, Properties, and uncheck the Keep Aspect Ratio. Now I can change just the width until it matches the width of the second shape. It looks good enough. I need to be 25, so I'm going to do the same for the second. I made a mistake in the handrail timing. So to correct this, I changed the keys from the 25 second to 24. So it matched the width in frame 24. And match the position and width of the third and fourth post. That's all, let's play it. What do you think? This effect looks almost 3D, but it keeps all the good things about 2D. You don't need to learn another software, it can be quite useful. If you like my tutorials, please consider subscribe to my channel. I always try to create interesting tutorials that make animation a little bit more easy. Thank you for watching, I'll see you in the next video.